Welcome to Stories End channel.
The moment my daughter-in-law said, "Don't talk to him. He's just the driver," I almost smiled, not because it didn't hurt, but because if she only knew the truth, she wouldn't even be able to stand there. What she didn't realize was this: the man she just insulted was the reason this entire resort even existed. And by the end of this trip, she would beg me not to ruin her life, stay with me, because what happened next changed everything. My name is Raman. I'm 74 years old. And I spent my entire life building something, only to realize too late that I built it for the wrong people. 3 weeks before this trip, I had already made a decision no father ever wants to make. I was going to test my own son, not in a small way, not casually. I was going to give him a chance to show me who he really was, because deep down I already knew the answer. It started with a phone call. "Dad, we're planning a vacation," my son Faraz said. "You should come with us." You had heard his tone, you'd think he cared, you'd think he missed me. But I've lived long enough to recognize something else: convenience disguised as love. Still, I said yes. Because even when the truth is right in front of you, a father still hopes to be wrong. Faraz had always been ambitious, smart, confident, but somewhere along the way he changed. Or maybe he just revealed who he really was. His wife, Saba, played a big role in that. Saba wasn't just controlling, she was strategic. The kind of person who doesn't raise her voice often, because she doesn't need to. She controlled people quietly, slowly, completely. And Faraz, he didn't just follow her, he depended on her, emotionally, socially, even financially, though he would never admit it. What they didn't know was this: for the past year I had been watching them closely, not out of suspicion at first, but because something didn't feel right. Unusual expenses, strange financial decisions, lifestyle far beyond what Faraz could afford. And then I found out the truth. They were drowning, debt, loans, bad investments. And yet they acted like kings. That's when I decided this trip wouldn't just be a vacation, it would be a test, a final one. Would my son stand by me, or would he reveal his true face? I didn't tell them who I was anymore, not completely to them. I was just an old man living off savings, simple, harmless, dependent, exactly how they saw me, and I let them. Because sometimes the truth only comes out when people think you're powerless. The drive to the resort was 4 hours long. They sat in the front, talking, laughing, planning spa sessions, luxury dinners, wine tasting. I sat in the back, silent. Not once did Faraz turn around and ask, "Dad, are you comfortable?" That was the first confirmation, not the last. When we arrived, I saw it. Ocean Vale Resort, my creation, years of work, sacrifice, pain, all standing in front of me, perfect, flawless, alive. And yet, to them it was just another expensive place. As we entered the lobby, something happened. The front desk manager looked at me and froze. He recognized me instantly, but I gave him a look, a small one. Not now, he understood, because loyalty is built over years, not bought. Faraz walked forward confidently. "Reservation under Faraz Malik, penthouse suite." The receptionist checked, then said, "I'm sorry, sir. The penthouse is currently unavailable." Just like that, everything began. Saba's expression changed instantly. She repeated. Her tone wasn't confused, it was offended. "I don't think you understand," she said. "I don't do unavailable." Started watching. I stepped forward slightly. "Maybe we can." She turned sharp, cold. "Please," she said. "Embarrass us." Then she looked at the receptionist and said the words that started it all. "Don't talk to him. He's just the driver." Silence. The entire lobby froze, and then Faraz laughed, not awkwardly, not nervously, genuinely. "Yeah," he added, "just ignore him." That was the moment, the exact moment my test ended, because everything after that was just confirmation. I didn't react, I didn't argue, I just smiled very slightly. Because now I knew exactly what I had to do, and they had no idea what was coming. That night, I didn't confront them. I didn't argue. I didn't even mention what happened in the lobby, because the truth is, people don't reveal themselves in one moment. They reveal themselves in patterns, and I wanted to see how far this would go. The room they got was not the penthouse. Of course it wasn't, but it was still one of the finest suites in the entire resort. Marble floors, ocean view, private balcony, everything designed with perfection, my perfection. But to Saba, it was enough. "This is unacceptable," she said the moment we walked in. "I told you I wanted the penthouse." Faraz tried to calm her. "Relax, it's just for a few days." "A few days," she snapped. "I don't stay in second-best places." I stood quietly near the door, watching, listening, understanding. Then she looked at me, "And you," she said, "next time don't interfere when we're talking, it makes things awkward." I nodded slightly, not because I agreed, but because I was observing, always observing. That night, I sat alone in my room, yes, my room, because despite everything, I had chosen to stay separately, not because they asked, because I needed distance. Distance gives clarity, and clarity was exactly what I was beginning to gain. The next morning, things got worse. Faraz knocked on my door. "Dad," he said casually, "we're heading to the spa." I waited. There was no "how are you?" no "did you sleep well?" Just a pause. Then he added, "Can you watch the kids?" There it was, not a request, a responsibility. I looked at him carefully for a moment. I saw the little boy he used to be, the one who held my hand while crossing the street, the one who used to say, "Abu, you're the strongest man in the world." Boy was gone. "Of course," I said quietly. His face relaxed instantly. "Great," he said, "we might be late." Of course they would. After they left, I sat with my grandchildren, Ayan and Meher, -8 and 11 years old, bright kids, smart but distant. They sat with their tablets, eyes glued to screens. I tried to talk to them. "Ayan," I said gently, "do you like the beach?" No response. "Meher," she didn't even look up. Then suddenly Ayan spoke. "Mom said you used to be a driver." The words hit quietly but deeply. I smiled slightly. "Did she?" I asked. He nodded. "She said you worked for rich people, and now you just live off savings." I looked out toward the ocean, not because I was hurt, but because I understood something important. Saba hadn't just disrespected me, she had rewritten me in their minds. I wasn't a father. I wasn't a builder. I was nothing, and that was intentional, because if people believe you're nothing, they don't feel guilty treating you that way. That afternoon, I took them to the beach for the first time. They put their devices down. We built sandcastles. I showed them how to find shells. I told them stories about their father as a child. Slowly, they began to smile, and in that moment, I realized something painful. Children don't hate. They learn, and what they had learned about me was a lie. When Faraz and Saba returned that evening, they looked refreshed, happy, carefree. "How were they?" Faraz asked without looking at me. "They're fine," I replied. "Good," Saba said. "You'll watch them again tomorrow." A thank you. Not a question, just an expectation. That night everything changed, because that was the moment I decided to stop observing and start acting. But before I could, something unexpected happened. The next morning, I went for a walk around the resort, not as a guest but as its creator, checking details, watching staff, listening. That's when I heard something that stopped me. Voices behind a private cabana. Faraz, Saba, and another couple. I wasn't trying to listen, but then I heard my name and everything went silent inside. His voice came first. "He's getting old," she said casually. "I don't know how long we'll have to deal with this." Laughter. Then Faraz spoke. "My dad," he said, "he's broke. I basically support him." My hand tightened. Every word was a lie, and then came the line that changed everything. "We just brought him along so he could watch the kids," Saba added. "Otherwise, there's no reason to keep him around." Others laughed like it was normal, like I was nothing. Then Faraz said something even worse. "He tells people he owns businesses." He chuckled. "It's honestly embarrassing." That was it. That was the moment. Not anger, not pain, something deeper. A shift, because now I wasn't just a father being disrespected. I was a man being erased, and I refused it to disappear. Quietly, I stepped back slowly, heart steady, mind clear, because now the test was over and the consequences were about to begin. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. I had already prepared everything before this trip even started: legal documents, financial controls, ownership protections, because deep down I knew this day would come. I just didn't know it would hurt this much. That evening, I made a call. "Prepare everything," I said. The voice on the other end replied instantly, "Understood, sir." Just like that, their world began to shift. By the time I walked away from that cabana, I wasn't the same man anymore. Not because they insulted me or lied, but because I finally understood something clearly. They hadn't just disrespected me, they had already replaced me in their lives and rewritten my existence into something small, something pathetic. That realization didn't make me angry, it made me cold, very cold. That evening I didn't sit in my room, didn't think, didn't hesitate, I acted. I walked straight into the administrative wing of the resort, a place no guest ever visits, and the moment I entered, everything changed. Staff who had been casually working suddenly stood up, straightened, focused, because there I wasn't an old man, I was authority. "Sir," the general manager said, rushing toward me, "we didn't expect." "I know," I interrupted calmly, "conference room now." Within minutes, the key members of my team, legal advisor, finance head, operations manager, were seated, people who knew exactly who I was, people who had built this empire with me. I placed a file on the table and said, "Everything we discussed last month, activated." No questions, no hesitation, because they understood that when I spoke like that, something serious had already happened. Then I told them everything, not as a victim, but as a man closing a chapter. "Effective immediately, freeze all indirect financial access linked to Faraz," I said, and the finance head nodded. "It will be done within the hour. Also prepare a full record of every transfer made to him over the past 10 years. My legal advisor leaned forward slightly. "You're finalizing the separation." I looked straight at him and said, "Yes." That was the moment everything became real, not just emotionally, but legally, financially, irreversibly. But this wasn't revenge, it was something far more dangerous, it was control. For years they thought they had it, but they never did. That night I returned to my room, and for the first time since the trip started, I slept peacefully because the decision had been made. The next morning everything started falling apart for them. It began small. Faraz's phone. He was sitting at breakfast when his expression suddenly changed. "What?" Saba asked. "My card, it's not working." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean it's declined." She rolled her eyes. "Try again." He did. Declined again, declined. Now her expression changed. "That's impossible," she said. Faraz stood up. "I'll call the bank." I sat at the same table, quietly sipping tea, watching, always watching. A few minutes later he came back pale. "They've frozen the account," he said. "What?" Saba snapped. "I don't know, they said there's been a restriction placed." Her voice lowered. "Dangerous. Fix it." "I'm trying," but that was just the beginning. Within hours, everything started collapsing. Credit cards blocked, access restricted, transfers halted, their entire lifestyle paused, and for the first time they felt it, dependence. That evening they came to my room, not confident, not arrogant, but desperate. Faraz knocked. "Come in," I said calmly. They entered. Saba spoke first. "Do you know what's going on?" I looked at her. "Yes." Silence. Faraz stepped forward. "Dad, something's wrong with my accounts." I nodded. "I know." That's when it hit him. "You?" he asked slowly. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I stood up, walked to the table, picked up a file, and handed it to him. "Read." His hands trembled as he opened it, page after page of transfers, payments, investments, expenses, all in my name, all for him. His face changed, confusion, shock, realization. "This," he whispered. "Yes," I said, "everything you've been living on was mine." Saba stepped forward. "That's not possible." I looked at her. "That's because you never asked." Silence filled the room. Then I said what changed everything. "You didn't just disrespect me, you built your life on my back and then pretended I didn't exist." Faraz sat down, and for the first time he looked small. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "That's not true," I replied. "You didn't want to know." Saba crossed her arms, defensive again. "So what now?" I smiled slightly. "Now." I walked to the door, opened it, and standing outside was the general manager and security. That was the moment the power shifted completely. "Your stay ends tomorrow," I said calmly. "What?" Saba snapped. "You can't do that." I looked straight into her eyes. "I can." Faraz stood up quickly. "Dad, wait." "No," I said. "You had your time." Silence, heavy, final. But then came the twist they never saw coming. "I'm not cutting you off because I hate you," I said. They looked confused. "I'm doing it because this is the only way you'll survive." That hit differently. Even Saba had no immediate response because, deep down, they knew, without me, they had nothing, and for the first time in their lives, they would have to face that truth. The night I asked them to leave, no one slept peacefully. Not them, not me, but for very different reasons. They were afraid. I was finally at peace. For years I had carried something heavy, not money, not responsibility, but expectation. The expectation that one day my son would understand me, respect me, value me. But that night I let that expectation go, and strangely it felt like freedom. The next morning I woke up early. The sun hadn't fully risen yet and the ocean was calm, quiet. I stood on the balcony looking at everything I had built, and for the first time in years I didn't feel proud. I felt detached because I realized something important. What's the point of building an empire if the people you built it for don't even see you? A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. I didn't need to ask who it was. "Come in," I said. Faraz walked in alone. That itself was surprising. He looked different, not broken, not angry, just honest. "Dad," he said quietly. I turned to face him. There was no arrogance left, no ego, just a man who had finally been stripped of everything fake. "I didn't come to argue," he said. I nodded. "I know." There was a long silence. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I heard everything you said yesterday." I stayed quiet. "And for the first time," he continued, "I didn't feel angry." That caught my attention. I felt ashamed. That word changed the air in the room because shame is where transformation begins. "I don't know when I became like this," he said. I looked at him carefully. "You didn't become like this overnight," I replied. "You chose it slowly." He nodded. "I think I was trying to prove something," he said. "To who?" I asked. He hesitated. "Everyone," he admitted. That made sense because people who chase validation often lose themselves completely. "I thought money was everything," he said. "I thought status meant success." "And now?" I asked. He looked around the room, then back at me. "Now I realize I had everything already." That sentence hit deeper than anything else he had said, but here's the twist. I didn't forgive him immediately because real consequences don't disappear with words. "You'll leave today," I said calmly. He nodded. "I understand." No argument, no resistance. That was new. Then he asked something unexpected. "What about us?" I paused because that question was the real one, not money, not status, us. "I don't know," I said honestly. And that was the truth because rebuilding trust takes time. He nodded again, then said something that became the final turning point. "I'm not asking for money," he said. "I'm asking for a chance." Now that was different because for the first time he wasn't asking as someone entitled. He was asking as someone willing to earn it. And that's when I made my final decision. "Then you start from zero," I said. He didn't hesitate. "Okay." No conditions, no complaints, just acceptance. That's when I knew this wasn't an act, this was real. But the final twist was yet to come because Saba, she never came to talk, not that morning, not ever. Instead, she packed her bags, called someone, and left without Faraz, without looking back, because people like her don't stay when the power disappears. They move on to the next source. And just like that, the illusion ended. Faraz stood in the lobby, same place where he had laughed at me. Now he couldn't even lift his eyes. Life has a way of bringing you back to the exact moment you failed just to see if you've learned. "I'll come back," he said quietly. "Not for money, for myself." I nodded. "I'll be here," I said. And for the first time in years, those words actually meant something. He left not as the man who arrived, but as someone who had finally seen the truth. Months passed, no calls, no messages at first. Then one day I received something unexpected, a letter. Not an email, not a text, a handwritten letter from Faraz. Inside it he wrote, "I got a job, small one, nothing impressive, but for the first time in my life I earned something on my own." I kept reading. "I understand now what you built, not the buildings but the discipline behind them." And then the line that brought everything full circle, "I finally understand you, Dad." That was the moment. Not when he apologized, not when he suffered, but when he understood, because understanding is what creates real change. A year later, he came back, not in a luxury car, not in expensive clothes, but with something far more valuable, respect for me, for himself. And for the first time, I didn't see my son. I saw a man, and that was all I ever wanted. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to see what truly matters, and sometimes the people you think you're breaking are the ones saving you. So tell me, if you were in my place, would you have done the same, or would you have kept giving until nothing was left of you? And tell me, where are you watching from?